Hello there, and welcome to the tour of the Serval anti-tank and emplacement hover vehicle, the 15th vehicle in my Armoured Fighting Hover Vehicles series of military vehicles. Say vehicle again, Wimp. My name is Wimperman Vehicle, and I'm the chief designer, chief builder, chief architect, and, of course, Chief Dumbass behind the Serval Anti-Tank and Emplacement Hover Vehicle project. So, let's give you a tour of this new vehicle, starting with its role and its task equipment. So, its role as anti-tank and anti-emplacement is to fight against tanks and, well, technically emplacement in this context would be the turrets of bases, ground bases specifically. Now, in order to facilitate that role, or those roles, technically, that's two of them. Oh, and technically, because it is anti-tank, it can also be used in any anti-vehicle role, although not anti-ship, but there you go. So in order to facilitate that, it has 4 railguns, which is the maximum you are allowed. Moving on then to its propulsion, handling and lift capacity. Now, this is another vehicle, and I've built quite a few now where I seem to be experiencing this bug. Both when you spawn the vehicle in or when you start the game and the thrusters off, when you then turn them on, the game doesn't register that it can turn. I mean, as you can see, the thrusters are on, and I mean, as proven by the fact that it can, you know, it's showing you its acceleration. So no, now there are a couple of ways to fix this, and I'm thinking I might go and report it on the forums, this bug. So one way to fix it is to put on another thruster and then remove it again. Oh, it's already there. Now that will update it. There you go, see? Or you can leave the thrusters on, close the game and come back. Now, I think just closing the game... no, just closing... Oh, hang on. Go into the main menu. We'll put it that way. So you can close to the main menu, and that will work. When you come back in, the game will figure out it can turn. I don't actually think you need to close the game to desktop, but, you know. I'm not entirely sure if changing playfields might work, but that might not necessarily be helpful. But, yeah, certainly putting a thruster on and taking it back off will. Right. Its thrusters. It has 4 large Tier 2 thrusters for its forward acceleration. It has the same again for braking and reverse. And it has 4 medium Tier 2 thrusters for its lateral thrust. Going underneath the vehicle, it has 8 small hover engines on by default. You can see that those are the ones that are lit. It has no hover boosters. Now, those 8 hover engines that are on by default will allow this vehicle to operate in up to 3.6 G. Now, that's dry weight, so once you've got ammo in it, that will obviously take it down a bit. So it's probably safe to say that it'll operate in 3G. With just the default hover engines on. And then it has 4 more hover engines set to max lift. And when you turn the max lift hover engines on, it will lift 61.1 tons, give or take a little bit, in 4G. Now the vehicle itself weighs 44.4 tons. So there's definitely quite a bit there to play with. I haven't bothered doing any more maths beyond that, so it might do like 5G or something. I'm not entirely sure. And I can't be bothered because I'm lazy. Right then, so Mobility, starting with its maneuverability. It'll accelerate forwards at 31 meters per second squared, do the same in reverse, and sideways it'll accelerate at 17 meters per second squared. As for its agility, yaw is 39 degrees per second, assuming that it's not 0. Now, I don't find the next two particularly important, but its roll is 16 and its pitch is 18. Again, unless they're 0. Stupid bug. And that's the view you get out the driver's seat. And as you can see, even with pilot mode off, it is fairly maneuverable, even with just medium thrusters pointing sideways to do its steering. Okay, there we go. That's the end of that segment. The next segment then is its power, fuel and air. So I will show you where these are later on when we go inside, but for now I'm just going to tell you about it. Power, it has 4 large generators. Fuel, it has 4 large fuel tanks and a pentaxid tank. And air, it has only 2 O2 tanks. It has an ventilator. It isn't compartmentalized in any way, it's just a single compartment, and it doesn't have an O2 station. So you're going to have to rely on bottles and stuff. So that was a nice and quick segment. The next segment then is its weapons, defenses and construction. So, weapons, as I said, it has 4 railguns of the fixed variety. Actually, there is only fixed, isn't there? It has a single Gatling gun as well, in case you want to take anything out in front of you, troop-wise or predator-wise. It has 2 Gatling turrets that are set to anti-personnel, so that will target both ground troops and predators. That also means it will also target drones, vehicle. So, on top of that, it has a single plasma turret, which is set to what I consider heavy turrets, and they will target the weapons. There's only one. That will target the weapons of bases and HVs. Defenses, it has a shield, hence the pentaxid tank. Now, because this isn't a tank, that was the wrong button, that one. It's 2, not F2. So, because it's not a tank, it has a armor profile the same as the other non-tanks. So, it has some combat steel armor on the front, and some on the roof. And also these thin blocks around the railguns, but the rest of it is all hardened steel. There's also a little bit of combat steel just in front and behind the turret, the side turrets, and then a little bit on the side. Oh no, that's hardened steel. I made that out of hardened steel, did I? I forgot that, but there you go. Right, and construction. Yes, well, I mean, that was sort of part of the construction as well. So the underside is all hardened steel. This is hardened steel. That's hardened steel. There is a small amount of steel on the inside, just the decorative blocks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're steel and not carbon composite. Right, that's the end of that segment. So the next segment then is its resource gathering, production and storage. Now, like most of the AFHVs, this is going to be a quick segment. Resource gathering, it has none. Production, it has none. Storage, it has 6 500 SU ammo containers, 4 of which you can already see. Now, they are on the outside of the vehicle, so they're a little bit exposed, although they are part of the railgun arrangements, so at least they do have some armor. It's not, the best it could be, but it's sort of... Oh, I forgot to mention at the beginning, And I'm going to say it now just because it makes sense, because we're talking about the railguns being there. So this vehicle is based upon the M50 Ontos from the US Army. It's a World War II, I believe, vehicle. Look how small it is. Look, this guy is looking down. I mean, it's like the size of a Mini, for goodness sake. Now, you can probably tell I've tried to keep this as small as I could. It's not that small. It's not the size of a Mini. But that does explain the arrangement of these guns and the ammo boxes on the outside, by the way, because it's sort of paying homage to that. Now, you may also notice the front end, certainly the very front tips of the, I think these are side skirts rather than outrigs on this vehicle, but they're very reminiscent of my Liger AFHV, technically. Although this bit here is more like the Jackor MBHT, actually, but so it does kind of fit within the series anyway. So, turns out the resource gathering, production and storage isn't as quick as I was hoping. So 6 of them, 4 there, 2 more are on the inside actually. It also has a whopping 2 small cargo boxes, an mini fridge and an armor locker. See, that was quick. The next segment then is its interior layout and any remaining devices. Rightio then, so as we approach the back door, you will see that the ramp, the back door and the lights are all on that motion sensor there. Now, if you've seen other AFHVs where the back door isn't on a motion sensor, you may have heard me explain that I do that so that the door doesn't open when you accidentally go within the sensor field as you're walking around inside the vehicle. For this, I didn't think that was going to be too much of an issue because it's so small in there, the chances are unless you're popping in just to use the armor locker, the only other time... Was that my footstep or did someone just sneak up on me? Maybe it's Herobrine. Herobrine? Yeah, so unless you're using the armor locker, the chances are the only reason you're going in there is just to get to the seat. So I thought it would be better to have it motion censored, the back door, rather than manual for this. As you can also tell, the interior is only 2 blocks tall, 2 blocks small grid, obviously. So that does mean you have to crouch to get in. So, crouch to get in. As you can see, there's some yellow hazard lines on the ground. Now, the thrusters, the back lateral ones, do actually encroach on the interior. Now, technically, that block there is within 1 block away of the thruster. It's also within 1 block of the generator as well. So you will overheat here and here. As you can see, we have 2 generators on each side above the thrusters, technically. And then inboard of that is one of the small cargo boxes in the armor locker, led on its side. So shield in the ceiling. In front of that is the pentaxid tank and the core. Then we have fuel tanks in an L-shape arrangement on both sides. Mini fridge on one side. Small cargo box on the other. Now if we peek in through the gap, you'll see the detector is above this small cargo box. We peek in the gap above the fridge and you'll see that the Wi-Fi is above this one. That does obviously make the Wi-Fi field slightly lopsided, but never mind. We have the CPU extenders forward of that, along with the motion sensor for the interior lights, of which there is 3. Ventilators up there, driver seat is here. The internal ammo containers are either side of the driver's seat. Now they are only a controller and 3 extensions. That's why they're only 500. Oh, I forgot to say as well that these 500... Oh, I didn't get the ammo out, but... so... When you make a full stack of railgun bullets. So 2,000, you can fit in one of these a quarter of that, 500. That gives you a little bit space, but you can get 500 in. So between these four, you can carry a full stack of the railgun bullets. Here. Get rid of those. And then I figured the other two ammo containers would be for the Gatling turrets, the Gatling gun, and the plasma turret on top. So, the last thing to mention is the holo displays. As usual, the driver's seat has some heads-up display, holo display things to show you what the various toggleable shortcuts are, which I'm now going to talk about by moving on to the shortcuts and signals segment. So, starting with the custom device group shortcuts, as usual, the top one is propulsion, etc. That will turn on and off all of the thrusters and what I referred to earlier as the default hover engines. The next one down is the max lift hover engines. Now, I have included on the hello display what you can lift in 4G with max lift on, just to give you an idea, keep you in the loop and all of that. The next two toggleable switches down is the headlights and tail lights. Headlights are on the front, as is usual with most of the the AFHVs that use these small lights as its headlights. They're set to spotlight mode, and the outermost ones are at a wider angle than the innermost ones. And, as you can probably guess, turning the headlight switch on will turn those on. The tail lights, of course, I have my red flares on the back, and if you don't like them, you can, of course, turn them off. And if you hate them, you can, of course, multi-tool them off. And the last one down, the next one down, but last one. So just to explain a little bit, I have a headache today. I think that's why my mouth is fucking up so much. The ventilator switch. Now, just in case you haven't seen any of the AFHV tours and you don't know what that means, I will explain it quickly. If you have, then you can skip ahead. So if we have a look at the power left and we turn oxygen off, the power left doesn't change, because although the ventilator is no longer blowing air inside, the ventilator block itself is still powered. So I give you a ventilator switch to turn that off, and as you can see, the power left does change. So you can save a little bit of power when you're in a breathable, that was the wrong button, the breathable atmosphere of a planet. Turning the power off will definitely save power. Right then, moving on to the custom signals shortcuts. The first one, as usual, is power save. That doesn't do a lot in here because it's a relatively small vehicle. It will turn off the two motion sensors, the one that governs the lights in here and the one that does all the stuff on the back. It'll also turn off the Wi-Fi up there. And I'm pretty sure that's it in here. Oh, and the holo displays. And now I'm pretty sure that's it in here. Yeah, it doesn't do much. The mini fridge, by the way, isn't on the power save, because I don't want you to accidentally turn it off and ruin your sandwiches, but it does come turned off when you spawn the vehicle in, because I don't want it to waste power until you do have your sandwiches in it. Right, I didn't need to close that menu. Next ones down are all the weapons. So we have one for the railguns. No fake lasers on this one, sorry. Loud. We have one for the Gatling gun on the front. Nope. Shush. There it is, poking out. There's one for the plasma turret on top, and then one for the anti-personnel weapons on the side. Now, I've given you separate toggleable shortcuts for all of the weapons because You don't really want to be wasting power, especially not in a vehicle with only 4 tanks, just to kill a raptor. So I think it's best, even in the most powerful of my AFHVs, to have separate toggleables for the weapons, so that you can control precisely what's on for what you need at any given time, so that you don't waste power. All right, that's the end of that segment. Moving on to the next and last segment is its CPU and upgrading. So, as you saw the extenders earlier on, you probably know it is tier 4. It is 37,887 out of the 100 you could have. So it's obviously 7,887 over tier 3. And I didn't want to try and get it under tier 3. Not a vehicle like this. Oh, I forgot to mention in the last bit, the O2 tanks can be accessed through the shutters here. Here and here. Everything else is accessible inside, really. So, that's the CPU usage. Just in case you're skipping around in the video, the core is there in the ceiling inside. The CPU extenders are there either side of the seat. As for upgrading, it has no upgrade path. That doesn't mean you can't personalize it. I'm not sure what you would do because there's not a lot of space, but you can do something if you wanted to pop a seat on it somewhere or whatever. But yeah, that's not what I consider to be upgrading, so it doesn't have any. Now, before I let you go, I will quickly show you the other primary colors, in case this is the first AFHV of mine you've seen. So I include 4 primary colors in the color palette. It comes in this tan desert sand color, and you can also change it to this military green. You can also change it to this Arctic white, which you can probably tell is ever so slightly blue. And finally, this dark grey. Now, it probably goes without saying, but just in case somebody doesn't know, you are free, of course, to change these colours to whatever you like and use them however you like. Most of the rest I would recommend leaving, because quite a lot of them are used in the build. There's quite a lot that aren't. Actually, there is in this one. More that aren't, I think. So that's the pentaxic colour. That's the thruster colour. These are interiors and the other external colours and stuff. This one hasn't been used on this build. These 2 haven't been used. These are medical colours, and it has no medical equipment. The red, the green, and the yellow up here haven't been used because they're nav lights and such on ships. Ooh, that's been used because that's the colour of the thruster blocks, but these 3 haven't been. That has only been used on the fridge. That's the damage colour. These 2 haven't been used. That's the colour of the fuel, and that's the colour of the ammo. In case you want to change any, there are some that you can change in that palette. So, in case you're wondering, by the way, I'm sure you're not, but I keep the palette the same on every single build, even when the colours aren't used in the build, just for simplicity. I can't be bothered to change the palette for every single build. So, that's why there are colours in there that haven't been used, in case you care. Right, I think that'll be the end of the tour. So thank you very much for taking interest. Oh. Yes, there's actually... I just noticed that diagonal line, that slash, isn't actually supposed to be there, because it's not an anti-tank or emplacement. It's an anti-tank and emplacement. But I don't think I want the ampersand in. And I wanted to do this on camera as well, because I haven't yet. Right, so now it's the end of the tour. Thank you very much for taking an interest in the Serval anti-tank and emplacement hover vehicle. I hope you get some use out of it, and hopefully I will see you in another video for a different build. So thank you again, and goodbye.